Welcome back to Brokers of Secrets. The number one thing you need to be aware of today is how good you need to feel to get the results you want. Because most people don't consider how important it is to feel good. They're like, if I have to suffer through it, I will suffer through it to get the results I want. But the greatest secret in history when it comes to performance, mental performance, and success, sustainable success, is your state. Let me break this down sequentially and also in layers. Think of your emotions as the dial on a radio. It dials you to a different channel. When you feel good, you dial yourself up to a positive channel. Your perception immediately shifts to something positive. And when you shift your perception to something positive, you change your behavior immediately, including your unconscious behaviors. So your state is the best predictor of your unconscious behaviors. Behaviors you don't know you do. Behaviors that you don't know you have. The things you say that you don't even know you say. All of those things matter because those things lead to the outcome you want. So the best way to predictably achieve your outcomes that you desire, that you design, is to change your state. A lot of people say, I will endure pain till the end so that I can achieve what I want, the hero's journey. But the problem is setting yourself up for failure, a lot of them along the way, because your state dictates what you perceive and it dictates what you project into your reality. It dictates all of the things in between and your behavior and communications. So if you really want to create the outcome you want, you need to change your state. Now, let me say it this way. I'll simplify it into two different types of states, two different types. Type 1 is abundance state. Type 2 is scarcity state. Scarcity states presupposes that there's a loss involved, there's something dangerous, something negative, something fearsome, something awful, something anxiety-inducing, something that causes harm, something that causes you to lose, right? Something of value. Abundant state that presupposes gain, freedom, success, happiness, greater and more quantity of wonderful things and experiences. You feel excited, you feel confident, all of those are abundant states, yeah? This is why people create gratitude journals, is to shift themselves into that state. That's really the secret behind it. It's not the journal, it's them focusing on what they want. That's actually the science behind it. Whereas over here, if you're focusing on the problem, scarcity, right? Because think about how entrepreneurs these days are taught to focus on problems, solving problems. Yes, that's good, but you can't take that practice home and live your personal life by looking for problems. Why? Because then you're stuck in a state of scarcity. And if you're stuck in a state of scarcity, what happens is that you project scarcity. That means you're only observing that in other people or other things or scenarios. Therefore, your behavior will fulfill that. You're going to perpetually feel that way because you're going to do things that will lead you down the path of feeling more of that. So it becomes a loop. These states perpetuate themselves. So if you're in a scarcity state, it's easy for you to feel scarcity the next moment and the next moment and the next moment. And if you're in an abundant state, you're going to have an easy time staying abundant and feeling abundant and creating more abundance. That's why people also say if you're wealthy and if you have money, it makes you more money. No, the person who feels that they have an abundance creates more wealth and abundance because their state creates their behavior and therefore their outcome. If you are wondering why you seem to have done everything, every right thing, every whatever thing you think you can do, but you feel like shit, you feel like you're in the scarcity state and you've been in it for a while, well, your result's going to be shit, unfortunately speaking, right? Your result is going to be scarcity. Your result is going to be not what you want. Maybe you momentarily snap out of that scarcity state and you have hope. And then all of a sudden you have a breakthrough. And you're like, yes, I knew it was worth it. I proved myself right that all the suffering was justified. No, you idiot. That is not true. And I'm saying this intentionally to snap you out of that state because that's the dialogue you need to tell yourself. If you suffer endlessly, and then that momentary hopeful attitude that you have snaps you out of it, it's not because of the negative scarcity state that got you the outcome. It's the momentary hopefulness, excitement, confidence, determination, that abundant state that actually snapped you out of it. You could have just stayed in abundance and probably gotten what you wanted way sooner, 100 times more. Many of us retell stories of much scarcity, and then all of a sudden, momentary abundance state hit, and there's a breakthrough. And then we use that confirmation bias of saying, yeah, all the years of sacrifice and hard work was what got me here. I'm so grateful. I'm sorry to break it to you. But these states do not produce positive outcome. The abundant states do. And look, I have fallen victim by choice into these states and allow those states to stay. Because again, it's a loop, right? And then found myself not getting the results I want in many periods of my life. And then I realized, wait a second, what am I suffering for? Who am I suffering it for? And what's the purpose of the suffering? Is it for my own glory and pride that I can handle it? Is it for recognition that I'm a hero? Is it for myself to feel pride that, yes, I can do it. I did it, right? Join the club. Sure, there are lessons, but do I have to learn it myself? Could I not have picked it up from people before me that have already suffered enough? For those of you, whether you have wealth or not, wonderful relationships or not, great health or not, if you are sitting in the scarcity state, your problems will likely persist in a way that is going to be aligned with the state that you feel. But the beauty is you can change. You can change very quickly. And with that change, if you snap into the abundant state, what happens is that your physical reality becomes a projection of that state, that emotion that you feel consistently. Now, remember, it's not just momentary, usually. It's the intensity and quantity and how much you are able to repeatedly feel that. You'll likely experience feast and famine in your business, in your personal life. Moments are good, moments are terrible, and you call it life. It's inconsistency of state. If someone comes to dinner with you and tells you how their life is up and down a roller coaster, it's inconsistency of how they are able to control their state. That's it. How many of these wonderful feelings do you get throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month? You can measure that. You can document and journal that if you want. You can mark it on your phone. You can do whatever. You need to document that to get an inventory of how many percent of your month or day that you actually feel good. And it doesn't have to require you to do that more than, once or twice. It's like tracking your food. Once you've done it for a period of time, you can look at something and you're like, I know how much protein is in that. You can even ask yourself, how many percent of your day did you feel abundant? Today, by the end of the day, how many percent of the day did you feel scarcity? If the quantity of abundance is significantly less or just 1% less, like 49%, what happens is that you have a scarcity dominated life. It's not just how much or how many times you feel good, but how frequently, how short the brief moments that you snap out into scarcity are. The shorter, the better. That means higher frequency of you feeling abundant. So if you can dial up your intensity, your quantity, and your frequency of feeling abundant, then you're going to win. You're going to feel good and you're going to win. You're going to be asking yourself, how much pleasure could I possibly endure in this wonderful life? And it doesn't matter to the circumstances because you're going to turn it around regardless. And so if you change your state, guess what? You're going to change everything. And how do you change your state? Well, that's precisely why you need to start designing the life you want. So your mind has a target. You need to learn how to resolve the things that you don't want, right? Then what happens is you ruminate. Ruminate means you get into the deep structures of your unconscious. If you're going to buy a house, it better be engineered properly, right? It needs to be structurally sound. It needs to function well. You wouldn't want to go move into a skyscraper that was just thrown together, would you? Then why would your most valuable life be just randomly thrown together? And that's how most people live their life, and they wonder why they don't get what they want, and they feel scarcity instead of abundance over here. They feel scarcity. You wonder why, right? It's simple. Lacking design and resolution, and then they don't understand the deep structure behind it. You need to do a deep structure study of your mind. That's what we call rumination. That's step 3 of upgrade. And then finally, you need to make a full decision that you're going to have an incredibly abundant, happy, wealthy, healthy life. It's a decision you got to make. because maybe somebody before you decided something differently. But it's time for you to take back your life and decide that.